Awesome. So Shannon and Eesha, so we were really we're fortunate to have them both here with us. As mentioned earlier, Eesha was graduated as her valedictorian very recently, and is now here working with Fleming as part of the business management program. And then Shannon is part of the applied projects and field placement liaison for Fleming College and of Business and Information Technology. So I will pass the mic over to them and let them share their screen, and we'll get into their presentation. If anything else you want to say as well for introductions, feel free, but we are very thankful and grateful that you are here with us.
Sure, thanks, Nigel. I'll just share my screen here. I'll just give me a second. I'll make sure that everybody can hopefully see that. Perfect. Okay, wonderful. Yeah, so okay, let's see, share all participants. Okay, perfect. Just if at any point you can't see anything or my screen goes blank, please just let me know. I can fix that right away. So I just wanted to take a second to say thank you to Nigel, thank you to the Chamber and everybody else who's here today. They've taken time out of their busy day to attend this BOSS event. And so I just wanted to say thank you. Both Eesha and I are very happy to be a part of this event. So without further ado, I will jump right into it. So like Nigel mentioned, I am the Applied Projects and Field Placement Liaison for Fleming School of Business and Information Technology. So a large part of my role is not only student facing, helping students find these work integrated learning experience, whether that's work or project based, but it's also working with community members, it's working with partners, continuing to strengthen and develop those relationships so that we have those over the long term. So I'll just talk a little bit about applied projects. Some of you may or may not be familiar with this, but don't worry, I will go through everything here. All right. So what are applied projects? So students in their final semester of business and IT programs at Fleming complete, it's a capstone project. It's for academic credit, but it's required in order to graduate. So students typically work in groups of 3 to 4, and they will have 150 hours to complete these real life projects that are sponsored by a business, potentially like maybe some of you someday. So a little bit later in the presentation, Eesha will talk about her experience more from a student standpoint, what it was like collaborating with these industry partners, kind of what her project was structured like, as well as anything else that might be interesting to you as business owners. So just to give you a good idea of what types of programs complete applied projects, here's a list. A couple of these programs actually, which I'll draw your attention to, are new at Fleming. So marketing management is the first program that is new. It's just been introduced as of fall 2023. Marketing management has an applied project that will start in January of 2024. The other program that's new is artificial intelligence, and this program has yet to be launched yet, but it will be starting actually in January 2024, and these students will also be required to complete an applied project. Something I will also add is, a lot of these programs are postgraduate certificate programs. So students have come from other areas. They either have a background, a degree or a diploma in another area. And this is almost like it's a second certificate for them as well. So a lot of the times you can leverage that as a business because they have experience. They have these skills that have already been built. That foundation has been created in another area of industry prior to this. So, yep, just to give you an idea of the programs, I have those listed there. So what types of organizations do we work with? And the short answer to this is we work with all different types of organizations, different sizes. I think from a student perspective, it's really great to give students this visibility and exposure to a variety of industries, whether that be public sector, private sector, nonprofit, because at the end of the day, our goal is to link them with, potential employers for the future upon graduation. And the reality of that is that students will end up in a variety of different sectors across a variety of different industries. So if we can provide them with great project experience in a number of different areas, then that's very advantageous for both us and for students as well. So just to give you an idea of the types of organizations we work with. So these are some examples of past projects that students have completed in the past. And this is far from an exhaustive list. This provides you with a few examples of things that students are comfortable working on. These are also examples of projects that have been very successful in the past for students. So sometimes, just a phrase of terminology that we use at Fleming is typically we call a company who is looking to work with students a sponsor, a sponsoring company, because they're sponsoring by students by providing them with their time, their resources, their mentorship, etc. So typically when I have meetings with sponsors, they ask, maybe they don't already have a project in mind, but they do want to work with a student group. So they ask me for examples of what types of projects are students comfortable working on and what types of projects have they completed in the past. So this is a list just to give you an idea. As I said, though, this is far from being absolutely extensive or in terms of what we are able to collaborate upon. So if you have questions about, could students help me in this area? We understand that as business owners, a lot of the times you are restricted by certain resources. Maybe you are interested in exploring a different area of business. Maybe you are looking to expand your market, your customer segment base, and you just need a little bit of extra support. You need a little bit of extra resource and help in doing that. And ultimately, that's where Applied Projects aims to come in with these student groups. So how it works. So a large part of my role from an administrative perspective is collecting applied project applications when a sponsoring company is interested in collaborating with us, walking them through the process of next steps, matching them with a student team, and then actually getting off the ground and running with the project itself. So let's say you're a business owner, you have an idea in mind, you know what type of project you would like to sponsor. You want students to work on a marketing strategy for your business. So what I would do then is I would go to the Fleming Applied Project website and submit a proposal. So I'll provide this information at the end of my slide deck, exactly where you can navigate to find this information. But it all starts with a proposal. Once the proposal is submitted, I receive a notification of that. I'm able to take a look at the proposal, make sure that there is no missing blanks, that all the information is provided. What I do from that point is I speak with a faculty mentor who will likely be taking on this project as part of their course. Let's say a website development proposal is submitted. I would then go to the appropriate IT faculty member to discuss this project again, see if they require any further clarification. And then at a certain point, once we've deemed that this project is great, it will be added to a list that students can bid or pick from. This will all be communicated to you as well upon submitting your application. You'll be provided details around the timeline, around how students pick, when the project will be starting, and things like that. I've also listed my contact information in this slide deck as well. If you have any questions throughout the process, maybe you haven't heard from students for a couple of weeks, you're looking to get into contact someone, I can be the best person to direct your questions or your concerns as well. Just a couple other things worth noting here. As a sponsoring company, there is no salary cost, there's no monetary compensation. Students are required to complete this as part of their academic requirements for graduation. Having said that, we do ask that if there is a software, if there's a tool, if there are resources that the students need in order to complete the project, that the sponsoring company does supply those. However, yes, there's no salary costs associated with that. The other thing that I will add is I sometimes get questions around what is the time commitment involved? I'm a busy business owner and I don't necessarily have hours every week to be working with students. So to answer that question, we typically say a good rule of thumb is a couple of hours every month. So maybe Eesha can speak to this as well from her student perspective, how often she contacted her sponsoring company. But typically we set aside a couple of hours every month so that students can set up Zoom calls with you. Sometimes they will have presentations where they discuss the deliverables. They might need further clarification, but ultimately that's our rule of thumb is the couple hours every month. The other thing I will add is that in the case where students are working with intellectual property and confidential data, Fleming College has a standard NDA that we will ask students to sign. Ultimately, it's up to the sponsoring company as well, how much information they choose to share with students. So you're more than welcome to share as much or as little information as you would like. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's your business, it's your project. So we understand that. So the timeline. So we understand that in the business world, you don't always necessarily operate based on the academic calendar year. As an institution, we do have to follow some of these timelines and rules. So just to give you a couple of ideas of how it works for the programs, because we do have so many different programs completing applied projects. Typically, an academic calendar year, 2 semesters would be September to December would be the fall semester, and then from January to the end of April is the winter academic semester. So over the course of these 2 semesters is typically, and I will talk about the exceptions, when students will receive their applied project, work in the fall months with their sponsoring company to set some deliverables, to set some timelines, expectations. The bulk of the project work will happen between January and April. So this is when 150 hours will be dedicated to the project. And that's, again, split between 3 to 4 team members as well. So that's what a typical timeline in terms of an applied project looks like. However, there are a couple of other exceptions. So WIN is an example of a program in our IT department that has 3 separate intakes. So essentially what you need to know about this is that we will be accepting project applications all year round. So we have students starting in September, we have students starting in January, and we have students starting in May, and they will all be requiring applied projects at a certain point. The types of projects specific to this program are things like mobile app development, website development, databases, things like that, very IT focused. So then we look at some of the business programs. So Eesha, again, she was a graduate of the Global Business Management program. She can speak to that as well. So her applied project would have followed the typical timeline that we see between September and April. Project management is another example of an exception where there's multiple intakes over multiple different academic starts. So just to keep in mind, if you do have a project management project in mind, again, we will be accepting them throughout the course of the academic calendar year. I know that this is a lot of information. So again, feel free to ask me any questions at the end of this presentation. I'd be happy to clarify. So here is the contact information that I had promised you earlier. So here's my name, my title, my phone number, as well as my email. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be your best point of contact as it relates to applied learning in the School of Business and IT at Fleming. Here's also a link to the application form for applied projects, as well as a QR code. This can be scanned and it should pull up the application form right away. Nigel, I'm not sure if these slides are shared or anything like that, but again, feel free to reach out to me, or maybe we can share these so that the links and things like that are available to everybody else. So okay, that's great. I got a thumbs up there. So
yeah, we can share that afterwards.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that would be helpful. So now the person that you're probably really interested in hearing talk, I'll hand things over to Eesha. And yeah, and thank you all for your time.
So thank you, Shannon. And yeah, I will go back to your part that yes, we are doing postgraduate programs and we do have diverse backgrounds, so including me. I was software developer for 6 years, and then I took this program, Global Business Management. The reason behind I picked this, especially this program with this Fleming College, was applied project itself. I have seen co-ops and internships, but applied project means that you are applying what you have learned so far. And coming from a software background, I was really impressed by the curriculum Fleming College have provided. So from start itself, it was difficult for me to grasp on things when coming from software background, business terms, understanding everything, marketing principles, research. But from very start, they have structured it in a way that our marketing research skills were polished so nicely that we used to find some small startup around Canada, and then we used to research about that, what can be their marketing strategies and So they prepare us throughout these 3 semesters. And then when in 4th semester we took on the applied project, it was so easy because we already had a number of documents which initially we were supposed to when we were supposed to talk to our sponsors. That was the initial steps. So it was amazing. The curriculum was really, really easy and really easy to grasp for any students from any background. Talking about my applied project, I from the day one I decided I am not going to do self-sponsored. I'm definitely going to do a sponsored project to get an understanding of how Canadian market works. And so we chose a company, Terra Optimal Labs. This company is based in London, Ontario. So initially, when we got the proposal, it stated that we need to do research about how we can increase their sales. So their product was they sell compost, wormy compost. But then when we met our sponsor, our project scope entirely got changed. And what I realized at that point, maybe project sponsor, they apply for these projects on the areas where maybe they are busy to focus on, and when we students can invest our time, and it is a part of our academic as well, so we can invest our time and provide a research document or any plans, whether it is a sales plan or a marketing plan. So our project shifted to, they wanted to sell live worms, because the compost they create, they use worms in that, and it grows exponentially. And it was a niche market for us to, I mean, how to sell live worms, we have never done that before. So I have seen students just put their blood and sweat in the applied projects, and we went on field trips to explore Bridge North area, where we can maybe find some potential buyers and maybe understand why they need that specific worm. We researched about red wiggler worms, and there was fishing worms, black worms, black larva worms. So yeah, it was very interesting. And the best part what about my journey with this project, we were able to find them two stores where they were ready to take those worms and provide the feedback that okay, if we will sell this in this conditions, and how everything works. So that was the best part. And the so I'll talk about meetings. So because the company was based in London, Ontario, so we used to have Zoom meetings. And initially, yes, it was once a month thing, but when we were coming closer to the end, we did maybe every fortnight for 1.5 months. So, but it is, I mean, I have seen it is totally flexible depending upon the sponsor's availability. So whenever they didn't have time to meet with us, they used to provide us detailed email if that these things we are okay with, these things are not. So that's how our project, I mean, came around, and we were, I guess, second for as a project sponsor team. And yeah, this was it for, so we did a little showcase and presentations. And the best part was when we were presenting, there was a set of judges, and one of them was from Community Futures. So they gave pre-approved loan of $10,000 to Terra Optima Labs if they want to opt for. So, I mean, I felt that, okay, we really did something good for the company. And it was good for us too, that they received this amount. So yeah, it turned out to be a win-win for all of us. And I guess as a student point of view, we got a really good understanding how we can, if something. So I'll explain what all things we provided. So we researched about packaging, how a live worm can be packaged and delivered. Then shipment, if so there were two scenarios, whether they can sell it on their websites, and other one was if they want to do wholesale shipments. So we found packaging for both those scenarios. There was like different cardboard boxes with holes, and these were, and then we researched about the pricing as well. What can be the market value of the product if they want to launch this new product? So these were the three main areas which we found them. And the fourth one was the target audience, because the major challenge we faced was to find the correct and maybe nearest to their location target audience, but they were willing to ship it around Canada. So it became easier for us to look into the region in Bridgenorth. But when come to costing, we discussed this with our sponsor itself, if we need some financial help when we do field trips. So they were okay to provide those things. Again, then these depends on different scenarios. I know, so we definitely plan to visit London, but somehow because of the snow and everything, snowstorms, we couldn't. But yeah, it was very interesting throughout the process. Yeah. So that was it.
Thank you very much, Eesha. And I guess at this point, unless there's anything else that the chamber would like to add, we will open up the floor to any questions, and we'll be happy to take anything that anybody might have.